The story begins with Akatsu coming over to Oyama's place and tried to wake him, asking him to move over on the bed. However, he refused and continued to pretend to sleep. He knew Akatsu wanted to play games since the previous day, so he preoccupied the spot in advance, hoping she would give up and go home. Meanwhile, with his eyes closed, he didn't understand what was happening until he heard a shutter sound. Akatsu was taking a selfie with Oyama sleeping, saying she would use it to threaten him one day. She even did some extreme things while taking pictures, including some close-ups of his face. Oyama began to panic, trying to make a weird face, but he couldn't get up now since she would find out he had been pretending. In the end, Akatsu did not go home and went to read some manga, leaving Oyama shocked that, despite his efforts, she refused to leave. Akatsu is seen in Oyama's room reading some manga, leaving Oyama stunned by how defenseless she is acting. Noticing his stare, Akatsu looks towards him, causing him to immediately look away. She then asks if he was glaring at her, which stuns him. The next thing she says is to ask if he wants to fight, challenging him to bring it on. When he doesn't answer, she locks him in a judo stranglehold, demanding he tell her why he was looking at her. He can't tell her the real reason, fearing she might flip out. After a while, Akatsu turns him around to face her and asks again, only to discover that Oyama had a weird reaction to their closeness earlier. She puts him in the judo stranglehold again, but is gentler this time, asking him why he had such a reaction. The next day, Akatsu came over to Oyama's place, requesting something sweet and salty for dessert. Oyama was on his way back with the desserts, talking to himself about how he always gets her things and wanting to find a way to chase her out. As he was about to head in, he suddenly heard her shout. He peeped into the room and saw her move away from a cockroach on the bed. Startled, he thought about how Akatsu was usually really scary but now appeared so weak in the face of a cockroach, revealing her as just a normal girl. He decided not to step in, hoping she would leave because of the cockroach and not want to come to his house again. But to his surprise, Akatsu had not moved an inch for 5 minutes. He had never seen her this cowardly before and felt happy to see her experience the kind of fear she instills in him. Akatsu wanted Oyama to hurry back and save her, but Oyama decided to leave for a bit instead. When she later found out that he had left her alone, she hit him. Akatsu had a favor to ask Oyama, but he declined without even hearing what the favor was. Akatsu became enraged when she saw how he responded to her, which was to say that he cannot anticipate anything positive coming from her. Later on, she pulled out some handouts for supplemental classes and stated that she had received a penalty for violating school laws, such as being late or absent. She was informed that if she did not show up, she might be ejected from the school. In the meantime, she pleaded with him, telling him that if he assisted her in completing the task, she would reward him with some secret items. However, he declined her request to complete the task jointly. Even though Oyama is enticed, he continues to resist and withdraws his gaze. Although Akatsu is taken aback by the fact that he did, in fact, fall for the rewards, Oyama is of the opinion that she is merely setting a trap in order to force him to do everything. When Akatsu saw that, he became so angry that he threw the documents away, giving the impression that he was giving up. He stated that if she were to be sent out by her parents, she would come to live with him because if she were expelled, she would come to live with him. Since he could not allow her to do so, he decided to assist her instead. After that, Akatsu mocked him by saying that he seemed to be interested in the secret reward. In response, he stated that there are many reasons why he wants to do it, but the reward is not one of them. Oyama was entrusted with some tasks by his teacher, so he knew he would be home late. He was happy, thinking that if Akatsu knew he wasn't home, she would give up and go home. He took his time heading back, but when he arrived, he found Akatsu banging on the door and shouting at the top of her voice, thinking that Oyama was inside the house ignoring her. Oyama was surprised to see her at his place. Meanwhile, he told her to calm down as she is bothering the neighbors with the noise. She flared up when she saw him and then grabbed his collar, asking where he was, to which he replied that he had some stuff to do. Akatsu then revealed a very childish expression, saying that she is worried that he might be ignoring her. He laughed at her expression, but stopped immediately he saw her menacing expression, asking why he laughed. However, Akatsu later brought out her phone, asking that they should share contact info so next time this happens they can call each other. Oyama's heart pounds from being scared to getting a girl's contact info for the first time. Back at school, Oyama was approached by a male classmate who asked if he lived by himself and expressed a desire to come over. Oyama quickly glanced at Akatsu, who seemed to be in a bad mood. To avoid any potential trouble, he refused his classmate's request and even claimed that he had a girlfriend, trying to look cool. Akatsu was surprised by this and immediately looked over at Oyama. When Oyama got home with Akatsu, she began teasing him for saying that he had a girlfriend, implying that she was his girlfriend. Oyama immediately apologized, saying that he was just being pretentious. However, Akatsu then told him that a plain guy like him claiming to have a girlfriend would soon be exposed, which she believed was right. She even suggested that he could try to make it a reality in accordance with how he had presented himself. Oyama was stunned by her words, and when she saw his confused expression, she burst into laughter. Feeling embarrassed and realizing he had made a mistake by claiming to have a girlfriend, Oyama really wanted to leave as soon as possible. His mind was racing with thoughts of how he had ended up in this awkward situation. He tried to figure out a way to escape the teasing and the uncomfortable atmosphere. Oyama was quite pleased that it was raining, believing that Akatsu wouldn't come over in the rain. However, to his surprise, Akatsu did show up, drenched from the sudden downpour. She explained that the rain had started so suddenly, leaving her soaked. Feeling responsible, Oyama went to get her a towel, looking away to avoid further embarrassment. As he handed her the towel, Akatsu noticed that it was brand new and teasingly wondered if Oyama had some secret plan for it once she was done using it. He immediately denied this, flustered by her implication. Just then, Akatsu sneezed due to the cold, feeling embarrassed but unable to stop sneezing. She asked him to look away, but Oyama found her sneezing to be unexpectedly cute and couldn't help but admire her. Noticing his lingering gaze, Akatsu blushed and asked him to look away, but he kept on looking, so he got hit afterwards. After taking a shower and cleaning up, Akatsu changed into her exercise clothes since her uniform was drenched from the downpour. Oyama was surprised to see her in exercise wear since she had never worn it in class before. He never expected to see it at his house. Akatsu quickly became irritated by the smell of sweat from the exercise clothes, indicating that it had been a long time since she had washed them as they had always been in her bag. She immediately asked him to give her his clothes. Oyama was startled by her request. Seeing that he did not answer her on time, she threatened to sweat on his bed by exercising right on it. He later gave her a sweatshirt which she found very comfortable and nice. Meanwhile, Oyama was blushing from the fact that she was wearing his clothes. Meanwhile, she asked if he wears it often, to which he replied that it doesn't stink as he washed it properly. Akatsu began to sniff the clothes and then felt her face flush, to which she covered her face with her arms as she laid on the bed. Even though the rain stopped, she didn't go back home. Oyama wanted to grab some lunch at school, but he was stopped by Akatsu's other friends, who requested him to fetch them some bread. It was midday, and Oyama wanted to get some food with them. When he realized that they were Akatsu's friends, he thought about the fact that he had always been the one to obtain things for other people, whether it was at school or at his house. This caused him to feel a little flustered. It was during this time that he noticed Akatsu, who was standing behind her pals, giving him a death gaze. He was terrified, but he did not hesitate to offer to go and fetch it for them. When they arrived home later, Oyama considered the possibility of expressing his regret for the events that transpired at school, given that she appeared to be in a foul mood. Akatsu initiated the conversation by inquiring about the reason he did not refuse her friend's request that he obtain something. In response to his confusion over what she meant, she went on to explain that she had even given him a signal, which she referred to as the Dia stare, yet he continued to carry out the conduct. It was at this point that Oyama became aware of the fact that he had made a mistake, given that the signal was the reason he had done it. He made an effort to explain that because he was the one who always got her stuff, he believed that it would be acceptable for him to do the same for her friends. She then proceeded to tell him that she is bothered anytime he gives someone else something other than her, even if she is unable to articulate why she is bothered. As a result, she requested that he refuse them the next time they ask him to do something he is not interested in. Oyama was sick with a cold and decided to take a break from school. He had no idea that being sick and alone oneself was such an excruciating experience. Furthermore, he believed that this was preferable to Akatsu coming over every day. Having stated that, Akatsu would have been aware that he decided to take a break from school since he is certain that she will not show up, and as a result, he chose to relax and take it easy. Akatsu arrived at his residence 10 minutes later and gave him a friendly slap on the head. She stated that she had no idea that he had not come to school because she had been sleeping all day in the nurse's office. After that, Oyama suggested that it would be appropriate for her to return home because she might acquire a cold if she stayed with him. In response, she stated that she would continue to remain with him. When she indicated that she would not be able to go to school if she caught his cold, Oyama experienced a significant amount of emotion and believes that the reason she said she would remain was because she would look after him and take care of him. However, when she said that she would not be able to go to school, she caused his bubble to shatter. In the meantime, Akatsu went to search on the phone for ways to give a cold to someone, and she read out a method that is highly efficient, which is kissing. He then went back to sleep, which was a melancholy experience for him. When Oyama heard that, he became excited and asked her what she had said. She responded by saying that she was only reading what she had searched for online and that she plans to take a break from school as well. At first, she was eager to go for the kiss, but she eventually changed her mind and stated that if they remained in the same location, she would most likely discover it. The hope that Oyama had was dashed. Akatsu questioned Oyama about the reason he was speaking to her in such a courteous manner, and this caused her to become enraged. She reasoned that Oyama might be considering that if she is a criminal, then she would be thinking so. In the meantime, Oyama is already aware of the fact that he is a criminal. Consequently, Akatsu informed him that every time he speaks respectfully, he will always be indebted to her for 100 yen, as she despises it, and Oyama, who had already finished his calculations, was aware that if he were to give her that, then all of his savings for his entire life would be given to her. This resulted in her disagreeing with her, but she did it in a nice manner once more, which prompted Akatsu to instantly charge him 100 yen for that. On the other hand, Oyama is unable to speak in a manner that is indicative of a criminal, and he was aware that Akatsu is also aware of this fact. Therefore, Oyama was aware of the fact that Akatsu had adopted a new method of extortion for him, as he comes to realize that she is a demon that takes pleasure in observing his reactions while she is attempting to extract money from him. Moreover, Oyama was aware that if he spoke in a manner that was reminiscent of a criminal, Akatsu would be taken aback. Furthermore, if he did that, then the existing state of affairs might change. As a result, he came to the conclusion that he could not speak in such a manner, because he found it embarrassing enough for him. Additionally, Akatsu gave it some thought, and she realized that the regulations that she had established for Oyama are quite challenging for him to follow. Given that she was aware that Oyama was a virgin who is unable to communicate with girls in a typical manner, it would be challenging for her to converse in a delinquent manner at this time. But Oyama, who wanted to cover himself up, lied to her and told her that he does talk differently, like a delinquent, when he is with other girls, but that he is kind of different when he is with Akatsu. When he had finished saying all of that, he later rethought his decision and felt regret for everything that he had said. He had the impression that he had already said too much, and that Akatsu might use that against him in order to taunt him. It came as a complete surprise to him as Akatsu turned out to behave in a completely different manner this time around. She became enraged and ordered Oyama to leave her since she was feeling a little bit of jealousy. Oyama was perplexed as to why her response appeared to be different from what he had anticipated would take place. He even wondered whether she would storm out of his house in a fit of rage, but she did not, and she did nothing but pout the whole time. They were observed playing a pleasant game in which they grabbed both hands in order to see who was the stronger of the two. This indicates that they eventually got along again. Akatsu was content with the fact that she prevailed because Oyama was unable to compete due to his lack of strength. During this time, Oyama was aware that the reason he suffered defeat was due to the fact that he always felt embarrassed while he was holding her hand, since he was unable to muster any power at that moment. Akatsu made the decision to begin her muscular training regimen after she realized that she had won the competition in the first place. Due to the fact that he did not appear to be concerned by it, Oyama was certain that he was right, and he consented to her allowing them to carry out the task. Akatsu experienced feelings of jealousy once more since she thought of him as a weakling, and he was so self-assured than she was. In point of fact, Akatsu desired to be the one to give Oyama instructions on what he should do rather than assuming that he should be aware of what to do or have confidence in certain matters. Instead of telling him that she would teach him how to build strong muscles, she offered him that as an alternative, and when Oyama gave it some thought, he realized that if he were to get more muscular, he would be able to do whatever he wanted to Akatsu, and by that time, he would be able to send her back to her house if he so desired. Therefore, despite the fact that he was really driven to learn how to gain hard muscles, he consented to do so. His passion for learning was high, so he was eager to study. Akatsu was able to recognize that he possesses some sort of purpose that is pushing him, thanks to the fact that he was so dedicated to the cause, even to the point of requesting her to exert more effort for him. On the other hand, after a short period of training, Oyama was on the verge of giving up since he was unable to stand up again. However, Akatsu pushed him to exert more effort and work harder. In contrast, Oyama was able to recognize that the reason for his weakness during that particular instance was due to the fact that Akatsu's face was too close to him, which resulted in the muscle training session lasting for less than 5 minutes. Then, another day Akatsu came over to Oyama's house as usual to watch a movie together with Oyama, which she brought from her house. However, Oyama rejected the offer, seeing that it's a horror movie and that he is not very good with that kind of movie. When Akatsu heard his reply, she decided to leave gently enough, which made Oyama wonder why she was so gentle, as it was unusual of her. Meanwhile, she has decided to go and have some fun alone, but surprisingly enough, she went straight to Oyama's room, and Oyama followed her, so they both sat down as she played the movie. Although Oyama's heart was not at rest as he wondered what she might do for him. He is more scared of her than he is for the movie. Oyama did find horror movies scary for him, but this time around he did not find it scary as he was not concentrating on the movie already, rather more concerned about Akatsu. While Oyama was deep in thought, Akatsu suddenly turned back and slept on his back. He was shocked that his heart skipped a beat. Even Akatsu knew that it was so sudden for him because it was kinda scary. Whereas Akatsu was doing it for fun alone, as Oyama was inconvenient with that, and was even angry that she could make jest out of his pure reactions that made him push her away from his body. Akatsu, seeing that Oyama's mind was not at ease, wondered what exactly it could have been. Maybe she's the one of the movie in actual sense. Then, Oyama decided to play with Akatsu's body a bit, thinking that Akatsu might be scared, but she's not, since she's not a virgin. Rather, she thought it would be Oyama who would be scared since he is a virgin, and she knew how the virgin would react. Meanwhile, Oyama only felt like what he wanted to do to her was just like protecting her. Akatsu came to his house again on a holiday as she just banged into the house, not caring to know what Oyama was doing, but since she knew that he would not be sleeping at that time. She has not seen Oyama yet in the house. Meanwhile, Oyama was inside the house, planning on what to do, maybe to welcome her or pretend as if he was not around, because he was actually hoping to rest during holidays as he did not want anyone to disturb his holiday. While he was figuring out what to do, he then thought about it, wondering if Akatsu would be wearing her casual clothes behind the door because he actually wants to see her in those clothes. Meanwhile, Akatsu had the plan to go to the karaoke that day, but then it was suddenly canceled by the people. So, Oyama later went to open the door for her after a while. Akatsu grabbed him by his neck, asking why he was giving her some kind of attitude, because she noticed his countenance when he came to open the door for her. Whereas, Akatsu claimed that she actually visited on her day off, which she expected him to be grateful for. While she was still holding Oyama to herself, Oyama is already feeling some kind of trouble within him, due to her appearance. Then he made Akatsu know that was his first time seeing her in casual clothes, which was why her countenance changed. When Akatsu heard that, she was shocked to the extent that she removed her hands around his neck immediately. Akatsu became calm, seeing that Oyama has never said such a thing before. Meanwhile, that was his first time seeing that on her, due to the fact that Akatsu came to visit him on her day off, which made her dressed like that. However, Oyama did not talk much, but rather commented on the casual dress, as he claimed that it really suits her, and truth be told, it actually suits her fine in Oyama's view. Akatsu was happy, even blushing, seeing how Oyama commented on her clothes, which he has never done before. Akatsu was happy with the comment, and she immediately cheered up with Oyama. She played music just for them to roll together, even though Oyama did not seem to be interested, but had no choice. He noticed that whenever Akatsu is happy, she is always cute, and due to the fact that he liked her, he did not always comment whenever she's around, and that is why he cannot talk anyhow to her when she did something inconvenient. Rather, he was already looking forward to his next day off, as that would be for him to sleep and rest alone. Akatsu hadn't gone back to her house since arriving during the holiday, and she was starting to feel hungry. Deciding she needed a break, she asked Oyama if he had anything to eat. Oyama mentioned he had some noodles at home and asked if that would be enough for her. To his surprise, Akatsu volunteered to cook for him, which was an unexpected gesture. Oyama was left wondering why Akatsu, a girl he often saw as intimidating and assertive, would come to his house on a holiday and offer to cook. He tried to figure out her intentions, suspecting she might have an ulterior motive. Meanwhile, Akatsu was already in the kitchen, busy preparing the meal. She carefully added Oyama's favorite sauce to the food as she cooked. After a while, Akatsu emerged with a steaming dish of fried rice. Oyama looked at the food with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Despite his concerns, he felt he had to try it, especially since he didn't see anything that would make him refuse to eat it outright. Akatsu explained that fried rice was a staple dish she often cooked at home. She acknowledged that it might look a bit unconventional, but assured him that it was edible. She admitted feeling somewhat nervous, as it was the first time she was making it for someone else. Oyama was initially skeptical about whether the food was prepared correctly. However, seeing the genuine, earnest look on Akatsu's face, he realized that she wasn't trying to play a prank on him. Despite his reservations, he decided he had no choice but to give it a try. Taking a spoonful of the fried rice, Oyama was pleasantly surprised. The food was delicious, far exceeding his expectations. He couldn't help but express his delight, praising Akatsu for her excellent cooking skills. The fried rice was perfectly seasoned and matched his taste perfectly, leaving him thoroughly impressed. Seeing his positive reaction, Akatsu decided she would make the dish again the next day. Oyama was thrilled at the prospect of enjoying the same delicious meal once more. He eagerly looked forward to the next day, excited to experience Akatsu's cooking again. However, Akatsu came the next day just as planned, but instead, she was sleeping and Oyama was actually happy that he was free from her that day. But later, after waking up back, she then started disturbing him by trying out some professional wrestling techniques on him and went to sleep back when she got tired. When she sleeps this time around, Oyama wonders when she will wake up. And just then, 2 of his classmates arrived, asking him to show them his room, whereas that was the room Akatsu slept in. Oyama did not expect his classmates to find their visitation too sudden for him. Meanwhile, they actually came to his house without informing him beforehand, as they knew that if they did so, he would not let them come. Within few minutes, Oyama did not know what to say. Later, he asked them to wait a bit for him, as he quickly rushed in, trying to cover Akatsu so they won't see her, as he knew that if they did, some weird rumors would start spreading all over the school about them. And he also knew what Akatsu can do to him if she's seen in his house or in his room sleeping particularly. He eventually let his classmates in, and as they saw the body figure he covered, they asked what it was, but he replied to them with utmost caution not to come near him, as he tried to prevent them from doing so. Unfortunately, Akatsu called his name, and his classmates already knew that it was a lady hiding under the blanket. Akatsu then stood up, still kneeling down on the bed, and Oyama said that she was still sleeping. Actually, she did not know what she was doing. Akatsu made him know how he was attacking while she was sleeping. Meanwhile, that was when Akatsu was protecting her from letting his classmates see her. And due to that, Oyama draws her closer to him, making the whole situation look romantic. When the 2 classmates saw what was happening, they decided to take their leave so they wouldn't interrupt them, as they already thought that Akatsu was his girlfriend. Immediately they left. Oyama was happy that they were not that exposed. Then he later apologized to Akatsu for hugging her like that. But Akatsu let him know that it was not a problem, since she already understood why he did that. Thereafter, Akatsu asked Oyama if the 2 guys were from the same class, as she considered it better for them to erase their memories from what they saw that day. But Oyama said it doesn't matter, as he told her that they did not notice them that much. Oyama was seen holding his phone, as he said he would be going to his house. When Akatsu heard him, she asked him if he was going to his parents' house, like he won't be living alone anymore. Meanwhile, he was only making calls to return home for the long weekend, but Akatsu's face became sad, as she asked him not to go home. Even Oyama was surprised with Akatsu's gloomy face, just because she thought she might not be allowed into his house anymore. However, Akatsu was already worried, as she asked Oyama where she would hang out from then on. But Oyama made it known to her that there are other spots for her to hang out too, as Oyama was angry with her question. Ajutsu then explained to him that there is no other place like his house, where new manga comes on the release day, with snacks and juice bought and brought for her in just 5 minutes. Plus the fact that she loves to have fun around Oyama, being a virgin, and as she has found his place a calming one for her. All that fun she claimed to be having with Oyama. Oyama sees it as if she's messing with him. Akatsu trying to convince Oyama so she can be coming to his house back, let him know how she's used to his room already, in which she did not think that there are any other places to compare with it. Oyama heard her saying that she likes being in his room, but then he considered that as teasing him again. But later, after a while of Oyama thinking about it, seeing the way Akatsu was sad,